This conference will now be recorded.
All right, good morning, everybody. We're here at the public hearing to receive comments concerning the upcoming proposed rule changes for the board. The purpose of this hearing, as I said, is to receive public comment on the rules proposed for amendment or adoption by the Appraiser Certification and Licensure Board regarding a number of the provisions of the board's rules located in Chapter 161 of Oregon Administrative Rules. The board will consider issues that are raised during the public comment period here in adopting the board's rules. Anyone wishing to make public comment during the hearing should identify themselves by name when called upon to do so prior to providing oral testimony or comments. Anyone wishing to present issues for the board's consideration may do so either orally or in writing at this hearing. The public comment period will close at the conclusion of this meeting, and the board will not consider comments received after to date unless the board decides to extend the public comment period beyond today's date. And just one point of clarification for everybody, the board will not be responding to questions or comments during the hearing. This is to receive comments from all of you folks. So today's date is June 17th, 2024. The time now is 10:05 a.m. and we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. It is being recorded to maintain a permanent record. The first set of comments we'll receive is so I'll go ahead and open hearing one. This is for the amendments to align existing Oregon administrative rules with the AQB criteria and correct other inconsistencies. This would be related to the definitions in Division 2, as well as the amendments to Division 10, 15, 20, 25, and Division 50. Are there any individuals wishing to make public comment on the amendments? And you can go ahead and unmute if you wish to speak.
This is Eric Bays. I was hoping to speak to the PREA changes, and I'm not sure if that is part of what
That'll
you're
be
speaking
upcoming
to.
next. Thank you, Eric. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So we'll give it another second here. This is the hearing to receive comment on the amendments, not related, well, some of them are related to PREA, but by and large, this is related to amendments for consistency with AQB criteria and other inconsistencies in the rules.
Chad, this is Scott DiBiasio with the Appraisal Institute. You have our written comments indicating support for these rules, and I will stand by what is in that comment letter. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you. All right, well, hearing no further comment or request for testimony on the amendments, we'll go ahead and close the hearing for the rule amendments to OAR Chapter 161, Divisions 2, 10, 15, 20, and 25, and 50. We'll go ahead and open the hearing for the rules. These are new rules proposed for adoption related to the adoption of the practical applications of real estate appraisal program to satisfy the experience criteria toward licensure or certification in the state. And I would imagine we have a few hands here. Eric, we can go ahead and start with you.
Okay, thank you. I guess you already responded to me, so you know I know you can hear me. I sent these same statement written, but the risk of being redundant, I'm going to read it anyway. I've been appraising in the Mid-Willamette Valley for 6 years. I'm speaking today in opposition to the proposed rulemaking implementing PREA. These rule changes seem to be a reaction to the market conditions we experienced 3 and 4 years ago when interest rates were low and we had appraisal turnaround times of 6 weeks. I'd heard it said at that time, although I didn't agree, that we did not have enough appraisers and that it was too difficult to find a supervisor to provide training. Well, the gears of bureaucracy work slowly, and now that this proposed solution is presented, market conditions have changed. Interest rates are much higher. Appraisal turnaround times are a week or less. Even though inflation has devalued the dollar by 20% over the last 4 years, appraisal fees have not increased, and if anything, have slightly declined. Lenders are more likely to send an order out for bids to get the lowest bidder rather than assigning it directly to an appraiser. Out of the many appraisers I know, only about a third are working full-time as appraisers. About a third have another job and appraise part-time, and a third have left the profession entirely. We now have a surplus of appraisers. It would be detrimental to our profession to lower our training standards to bring in less qualified appraisers when we have well-trained, experienced appraisers who are not fully utilized. I've looked at the program requirements for setting up a PREA program, and I literally laughed when I saw that the program requires a student to produce 3 complete appraisals. And during my apprenticeship, I took part in the development of well over 500 appraisals. By the time I had completed my training, I had already experienced every type of property and situation I was likely to experience in this area. A distance learning course is not a substitute to the training you can get working hand in hand with someone facing real life issues. And even if PREA programs did offer the same level of training and in appraisal methodology, it still would not give the student geographical competency. A new appraiser who has only been trained through a PREA program would either have to partner with an experienced appraiser to learn the area, or should tell prospective clients they are not geographically competent. I know the proposed changes have been in process for some time now, but that itself is not reason enough to continue with them. These programs are likely to create appraisers who produce poor reports and give the industry a bad name. Also, these proposed changes are trying to solve a perceived problem that no longer exists. I will also mention that I am in the process of training an assistant, and I plan on training more in the future. And I collaborate with a group of other appraisers who have expressed that they have views similar to my own. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bays. Appreciate it. I see one other hand here raised. Mr. Hescock, would you please identify yourself with your full name and go ahead and unmute?
Sure. Unmuted here. Can you hear me okay?
Absolutely. Perfect.
Okay. Kevin Hescock, been in the business here 26 years now, and I think Eric Bays hit everything right on the head. I agree with absolutely everything that he just stated. I had a statement here prepared, but I think he pretty much covered everything that I was planning to cover. And in addition to that, the number of appraisers in the field now that are active has decreased some, not much though. The fees that we're actually almost being forced to accept from appraisal management companies and some in the banking industry have declined significantly in some areas, to the point to where they're offering below what I was charging in 1998. And it's become to the point where some people have had to have second jobs, third jobs. I'm fortunate enough that I cover a large enough area that I don't have to do that yet, but everything that Mr. Bays says, I completely agree with, and I second his motion. That's all I have to say.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Mr. Hescock. Is there anyone else that wishes to provide testimony?
Chad?
I see Scott raising your hand. Go ahead, Scott.
Yes. Thank you very much, Chad. I appreciate the opportunity. For the record, this is Scott DiBiasio with the Appraisal Institute in strong support of the PREA-related rules. You have our written comment letter, and I will stand by what is in that written comment letter. I do want to make a couple of additional comments, however. First, that market conditions really are not a good reason to adopt or to not adopt the PREA-related regulations. Market conditions change all the time, and we need to ensure the long-term viability of this profession. And folks are having a very hard time finding supervisors that are willing to take them on, and that is particularly true in historically underrepresented communities in the profession. The other comment I wanted to make was in relation to the number of appraisals that are required to be completed within PREA programs. The minimum is 3 per module, and there are 2 modules, licensed residential and certified residential. But I can tell you that the AI PREA program, when you go through LR PREA and CR PREA, you will have completed no less than 26 full USPAP compliant appraisal reports as part of the AI PREA program. And quite frankly, I think you're going to end up with a better appraiser coming out of the PREA program than you do via the traditional supervisor trainee model. And here's why. If a trainee is hooked up with a supervisor that only does single family mortgage lending work in homogeneous neighborhoods, that's all they're going to know how to do. They are not going to be exposed to different types of situations that they may not be able to replicate in the real world. And PREA provides that opportunity. We can expose folks to things that they would never happen to come across in their travels with a supervisor. We're also able to expose students to multiple different property types. Within AI PREA, at least, a participant will be exposed to single-family residences, 4-unit multifamily residences, vacant land, and also all kinds of different types of assignments, not just mortgage lending related assignments. So I think you're going to end up with a much more well-rounded appraiser and one who has been put through a standardized program. And let's all be honest about it. There are some bad supervisors out there that are not training their assistants, in your case, appropriately. PREA presents that standardization. There's accountability on the part of our mentors. And I just think you're going to end up with a much more well-rounded appraiser coming out of the PREA program. And just as an aside, we have had the first graduates from the AI PREA program. And I can tell you that they are well prepared to be licensed at this point real estate appraisers. Many of them will be continuing into the certified residential PREA program. And ultimately will be becoming hopefully certified residential appraisers. In terms of geographic competency, I will say that someone that is that goes through their training via the traditional supervisor trainee model, in many cases they are going to be competent only in the market where their supervisor has trained them. In the case of Oregon, let's say that somebody gets their training only in Portland, and when they actually go out after they're fully licensed, somehow they end up in Salem. Obviously, those are two very, very different markets, but the appraiser then is legally allowed to appraise in either of those markets throughout the entire state, for that matter. But they do have to obviously become geographically competent in those market areas, or they have to become competent or withdraw from the assignment. And lastly, I'm not sure how appraisal fees being paid by appraisal management companies and other clients really fits into this discussion. I don't think fees are relevant to training at all. And we need to ensure the long-term viability of this profession by having a steady stream of folks coming in, and we don't have that right now. I appreciate the opportunity to provide these additional comments, and we look forward to the opportunity to be able to provide PREA to aspiring appraisers in Oregon as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Woo! All right.
Chad, you're on mute.
Thank you, Scott. So what you didn't hear me say was thank you very much, Scott. I appreciate it. Did I see caller 3? Do you wish to provide public comment?
Oh, I'm caller 2. Chad, is
Okay.
that who you're looking for? Dory Davis?
Dory, okay, so you got it. Perfect. All right, Dory, go ahead.
Yes. Thank you. I'd just like to say I'm in support of the first. Scott, actually, I agree with much and most of what he just said. So he sort of took away my thunder, but I'm in support of the board adopting rules for PREA as well, in order to help alleviate any unnecessary barriers to entry to the appraisal profession, which, as everyone knows, is under scrutiny by many in the media right now and in government. So, and in order to follow suit with many or most other states in the nation who have already adopted this criteria into their rules. And that's all.
Excellent, Dory. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I see Allison, is it Allison Guile with your hand raised?
Yeah, can you hear me fine, Chad?
I can, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yes, my name's Allison. I have actually talked to you a time or two before. It's been a while. But I'll admit I have not read through everything quite yet in the email, but I am an appraiser trainee, still currently logging my hours to get to 1,500 hours, still doing my continuing education every year like I need to. Again, like I said, I've not completely read through that email quite yet, but I still need to do, getting the 1,500 hours we're still required in the continuing education. That's all still a thing. It's still required. I'm still doing that all. Is that correct?
As far as the pre-licensure requirements, yes. The only thing on the table really today is discussion of the alternative method of satisfying the experience requirements. That would be PAREA. Yeah.
For Korea. Okay,
So
so yeah, I
all of
have
that
not.
qualifying education stuff on the front end, as a matter of fact, would need to be completed, I believe, before PAREA.
Awesome.
But so yes, for clarifying, yeah, this is to discuss that alternative program.
Okay, yes, awesome. Yeah, and I might have missed it. For the Korea, is that the Korea is a program that people are doing to become an appraiser over here?
Get off the line.
Oh, caller 3, I'm going to go ahead and mute you. You keep feeding back into the system here. I'm sorry about that. Okay. Sorry about that, Allison. Go right ahead.
That's fine. No, just with the Korea, that's just a program. I mean, for people in Korea to come over here and do appraisals. What's the Korea thing about?
Gotcha. Okay. Well, so a short description of what the practical applications of real estate appraisal is. It basically takes the current requirements for licensure or certification. There are two components. There's the qualifying education component, which is all of the classes that you're going to be required to take before you're able to take your licensing exam. And then the second piece of it is experience. There are experience criteria prior to being able to be licensed. The current model is that we gain that experience through working with a supervisor. What's on the table for discussion today is an alternative program to satisfy those experience requirements rather than working with a supervisor, would be through this practical applications of real estate appraisal program, wherein participants complete educational modules and practical demonstration type work product under the supervision of mentors as opposed to supervisors. So it's essentially an alternative path to obtaining experience toward licensure.
Oh, okay, definitely.
The rest
Well,
of
thank you
the
for
rest of
explaining
the
that to me,
criteria
Chad. I
would remain
appreciate
the
it.
same. Sure.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, thank you for explaining that, Chad. I appreciate it.
All right. Are there any other comments related to PAREA today? You know what, everybody? I'm just noticing that a good number of you are muted. I'm going to go ahead and try and unmute all of you so that you can speak. Okay, well, hearing no further comment, it appears that we've received all the public comments that people wish to make for today's hearing on both of the related, the amendments as well as the adoption of the PAREA program. Unless I see another hand pop up in the next 5 seconds or so, we'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting. And seeing no other comments requested, we will go ahead and close the public hearing now on the proposed adoption of the practical applications of real estate appraisal program. The time now is 10:23 a.m. and the hearing is now adjourned. Thank you, folks.